Today we're going to look at how to find the angle measure. What we're doing today is the opposite of what we did last class. Last class, I gave you the measure of the angle, either in degrees or radians, and you drew the angle. Today, I'm actually going to give you the angle, I'm giving you the picture, and you're going to give me the angle measure. You're going to give me the number. Okay, so here's my angle, and they tell me that this thing over here is pi over 6. So the first thing I need to do is determine whether my angle is positive or negative. Well, if you notice, my angle starts on the bottom of the initial side, so that makes this a negative angle. So I'm going to go ahead and write negative so I don't forget. The next thing I want to do is convert pi over 6 to degrees, because I don't know what pi over 6 is. I need to know it in degrees. So I'm going to do pi over 6 times 180 over pi, and that happens to give me 30 degrees. So that angle down there is 30 degrees. Alright, so here's what I know. If I were to take this angle and draw it all the way around completely, then that would be 180 degrees. But I didn't go all the way around. I stopped 30 degrees short of going all the way around. So that means 180 minus 30, and that's 150 degrees. Is that my final answer? No, there's two reasons it's not my final answer. One, it needs to be back in radians because the problem was in radians, and then it needs to be negative because this is a negative angle. So I'm going to convert 150 times pi over 180. Remember in the calculator we do 1 over 180. And that gives me 5 pi over 6. Now I need to make it negative for my final answer. So my final answer is negative 5 pi over 6. Alright, let's try this one. Alright, again, I'm going to start off the same way. Is it positive or negative? Well, if you notice, it starts on the top this time, so that means it's a positive angle. Okay? It's in degrees. The problem is in degrees, which is awesome. That means I don't have to convert it once at the beginning and once at the end. So we're just going to go with it. Now look, this angle goes almost 3 quadrants around. 3 quadrants around is 270. Okay? It's 40 degrees short of 270. So I'm going to do 270 minus 40, and that's 230 degrees. Is that my final answer? Well, it's in degrees, and so is my problem, so that's good. And it's positive. And my angle is positive. And so, yes, that's the answer, 230 degrees. All right, let's try another one. This one looks a little bit more complicated because it's got so many circles, it's got so many spirals, but it's okay. We'll figure it out. We're going to start off the same way. Look at where it starts. Does it start on the top or the bottom of my initial side? It starts on the top, so this is a positive angle. I've got pi over 6, which I need to convert. So pi over 6 times 180 over pi gives me 30 degrees. So that little part is 30 degrees. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to count how many times it goes around. If you notice, it goes around one time, right there. That's one whole time. That's 360. Then it goes around another whole time to right there. That's another 360. Now I got to figure out how much is this part, this top part. I know the two 360s. I got to figure out this top part. Well, from here to here is 1 quadrant, and we know 1 quadrant is 90 degrees, so add 90 degrees. So all I really have left to figure out is just this little piece with the arrow right here, and it tells me right above it that it's 30 degrees. So I'm going to add 30 degrees. So we add it all together, and we get 840 degrees. Is that my final answer? Well, no, it's not, because my original problem had pi in it. My answer has to have pi in it. So 840 times pi over 180 equals 14 pi over 3. Is that my final answer? Well, yes it is, because this is a positive angle, so positive 14 pi over 3. Alright, let's try another one. Alright, is this angle positive or negative? Well, at this time it starts on the bottom of the initial side, so that makes it negative. It's in degrees, so I don't have to do any conversion. So look at my angle. It looks like it goes almost all the way around. And we know all the way around would be 360 degrees. But I'm 22 degrees short of 360. So 360 minus 22 is 338 degrees. Is that my final answer? Well, since my problem was in degrees, my answer can be in degrees. So 338 degrees is part of my final answer. But we said this was a negative angle, so make it negative 338 degrees. That's your final answer. Alright, let's try another one. Let's try this one. This one looks like fun. Lots of spirals. Okay. So we're going to start off the same way. Positive or negative? Well, if you notice right here, it starts on the bottom of my initial side, so it's a negative angle. I've got pi over 3, which means I need to convert. pi over 3 times 180 over pi gives me 60 degrees. So this much is 60 degrees. All right, well, let's count how many times I go around. There's one time around, that's 360. There's another time around, that's another 360. There's another time around, that's another 360. So now what I'm left with is just this part right here, and then this part with the arrow. Well, I know this part right here is one quadrant, which happens to be 90 degrees, so plus 90. So now all I'm left to figure out is this part right here with the arrow. How much is this? Well, I don't know. But I do know the part I'm looking for, and the 60 degrees they gave me make one quadrant, which is 90 degrees. So if I do 90 minus 60, that'll tell me how much is left for this part that I'm looking for. So 90 minus 60 is 30. So I'm going to add 30 degrees because this part that I'm looking for is 30 degrees. So add it all together and you get 1200 degrees. Is that my final answer? No, I need to convert. 12 times pi over 180 gives me 20 pi over 3. And at the beginning we said it was a negative angle, so negative 20 pi over 3. That's my final answer. One last example. Okay, this one starts on the top of the initial, so that's positive angle, so I'm going to write positive. All right, if you notice it's in degrees, so there's no conversion necessary. So I'm going to figure out how many times it goes around. There's one time around. There's two times around, so one time around is 360. Second time around is 360. Now I've got to figure out how much is left for this part right here. I don't know how much is left, but I do know the part I'm looking for. And this 33 degree angle will make one quadrant, and one quadrant is 90 degrees. So if I do 90 minus 33, that gives me 57. So the measure of this part I'm looking for is 57 degrees, so I'm going to add 57 degrees. When you add all that together, you get 777 degrees. Is that my final answer? Well, let's check. My problem was in degrees, my answer's in degrees, so I'm good to go. And at the beginning we said it was positive, so yes, that's my final answer, 777 degrees.